Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Average Film Enjoyer podcast. Today, we are continuing our series of Hooptober. I'm your host Trey. I didn't even introduce ourselves. You know us at this point. If you're a listener, you know us. I'm Trey. This is Jagger. Jagger, how are we doing today?
I am doing great. We got a great movie on in the background today.
Yeah, leave a comment again. We're gonna try to start doing this every episode, but leave a comment. What movie Jagger's watching today? So today we were reviewing a horror movie. It's not my all-time favorite horror. That comes later in the month, but it is my second. I believe it's in my top 30 of all time. It is an outstanding film. Today we're reviewing Ari Aster's directorial debut, Hereditary, starring Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, the guy from Usual Suspects, whose name Gabriel Byrne, I think his name is.
Is it Gabriel? It could be.
Yeah, well, I know it's the guy from Usual Suspects. And yeah, so for me personally, okay. So I've talked about on this podcast, like, my journey through life and my journey to film, about how I was like a drug addict and an alcoholic, and then I got into rehab and found film as, like, film kind of saved my life. So the first time I watched Hereditary, I was very inebriated. So I wasn't all with it watching it, and I finished it, and I didn't remember it that much. All I remembered was it being pretty scary. Second time I watched it, I was in rehab, and I watched it, and it was the first time I had watched it, like, fully conscious and aware of what was happening. And my God, did that movie scare me. I mean, this movie, I think I've seen that movie 5 times, and it still scares me to this day. This is debatably one of the best directorial debuts of all time. This is my personal favorite Ari Aster film. You get some really solid scares, along with some really demented and fucked up scenes, along with something you don't get too often in horror movies, which is great writing, great acting, a great script, super well paced, solid emotional beats, and some really, really refreshing camera work. So I have this at a 5-star. Jagger, what do you have this? Are you at a 4-star on this one?
I am at a 4.5 on this one, and I think it's my least favorite Ari Aster.
Wow, really?
My favorite.
You have it written.
All right.
Well, we know your favorite is Beau is Afraid.
My favorite is Beau is Afraid because I had an absolute geek out watching Beau is Afraid, picking up on all the details.
Yeah.
Second favorite, Midsummer. Midsummer, I recommend to everyone. It was absolutely insane, ludicrous film. And then my least favorite is this one because I don't know. I love it. I have it at 4.5. It just didn't resonate with me as much as the others.
Yeah. Like, and that's the crazy part, is we're like, this is my least favorite Ari Aster, and you still have it at a 4.5. Like, Beau is Afraid is my least favorite, and I have it at a 4.5. It's an outstanding film.
Ari Aster
but I'm just wondering.
Ari Aster is him. Ari Aster's that guy.
He's part, and we'll talk about this a little more in a few minutes. But part of the renaissance of great horror directors right now, with Robert Eggers, Ari Aster, and Jordan Peele. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I want to ask, you're one of the first people that I've ever met who has Midsummer rated higher than Hereditary. Okay. So I'm wondering, what for you kind of what part of Midsummer edges out Hereditary for you, or if it's like an obvious choice.
Man, so it might sound absolutely ridiculous to say it. For me, it was an obvious choice. This was not an edges out situation. This was I watched Midsummer with my jaw on the floor, flabbergasted that a movie could do what it did. I think Wes said it about Rebecca, which I still don't understand. But Wes said it about Rebecca, that he watched it and it taught him, like, what a movie's able to do. Again, still don't understand that with Rebecca. But Midsummer was one of those movies for me where I was like, the cinematography was incredible. Everything about it was so great. And it was the first time I watched a 3-hour movie and didn't know it was 3 hours. I've had that
That
experience
movie
since.
is long. I always forget that because it does fly by.
It's like a Babylon level, like just bam and it's done and you're sad it's over so you could watch it again. But at that point you've spent 6 hours watching it. And
Yeah.
it is so good. I'm going to the theater because isn't AMC re-releasing the director's cut in theaters this October?
If they are, I'm gonna need to go see that.
Yeah, and it's like on Halloween. I'm doing that. So like it's a surreal film that resonated with me so much. And since then I've made like 5-6 people watch it. Everyone loves it. Like it's a movie that you can't help but have fun with. So that's why for me.
Yeah, I remember. So 2 things. I remember watching Midsummer in rehab. So in rehab, it was me and my buddy AJ. We would watch movies together. So we would stay up after everybody else went to sleep because like I'm a night owl. He was not a night owl, and we liked when it was like. I mean, let's be honest. The late at night is kind of the best time of the day because you have no responsibilities. You have nothing you have to do. You can just do what you want and just hang out. And so we would stay up and watch 2 to 3 movies. And this was how I fell in love with cinema. That was our time to do what we wanted and enjoy our time. And so we'd watch cinema. That's when actually, to digress a little bit, that's when I was introduced into Studio Ghibli movies. AJ was the one who introduced me to Studio Ghibli movies, which are amazing. If you haven't checked them out, you need to go do that. But yeah, it got to one point where one night we were watching Midsummer and there was like 10 of us. And this older gentleman who was there with us walks in, and he walks in at the cliff jumping scene in Midsummer, and he goes, "What kind of fucked up shit are you guys watching in here?" And we all laughed so hard because, like, let's be honest, Ari Aster's stuff is super disturbing. And like that kind of brings me into like why I like Hereditary more than I enjoy Midsummer, which is really because Midsummer you get like this really cool story and it's outstanding. I still have Midsummer to 5-star. Hereditary though, I've always been like my favorite genre is like mystery crime thrillers, right? So where you get all these like random things happening throughout this whole movie. Kind of like a Lynchian type deal where it's like all this weird stuff happening where you're like, why is all this happening? I don't know what's happening. You're confused. And then like the last 40 to 30 minutes, something happens and it all kind of starts to come together and you realize like how all this little stuff is connected. And that's what Hereditary is, except it's a horror. It's basically a horror version of Prisoners. It does such a good job, and I love the cult.
In my opinion, Prisoners is already the horror version of Prisoners.
Yeah, dude, that movie's a hard watch. But like more like horror in the more traditional sense. And I'm a huge fan of cult horror, which is what Ari Aster does really well. It's what he's done in all 3 of his films is just make stuff about cults. I think Tony, I think this is another thing where the Oscars are already broken. Like it's a broken system. It's stupid. It's first of all, did you know Akira Kurosawa never even got nominated for an Oscar?
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Akira Kurosawa never even got nominated. One of the greatest directors to ever walk this earth. He created 7 Samurai and never got nominated, which I just think is outrageous. But something that the film community, especially guys like me and Jagger, who are big horror fans, something the film community has been trying to push for a while is getting more recognition at the Oscars for horror as a genre. Because horror, let's be honest, gets 0 recognition.
Yeah.
Like, Hereditary should have been at least nominated for Best Cinematography, and Toni Collette should have been nominated for Best. Toni Collette should have won. Toni Collette gives an unbelievable performance in this movie. Gabriel Byrne gives an unbelievable supporting performance. And it's just like another reason why, yes, a lot of horror we get is not award worthy, right? But then we get stuff, and this is going into our conversation about like Eggers and Peele and Astor. Like, we get stuff that's really, really well-made art and well-made cinema, like Get Out or Midsommar or The Lighthouse. Stuff like this. This is horror, but it should be winning a bunch of awards because it's like well-made cinema, you know?
Yeah.
And I think Hereditary is an outstanding film. I think I think it's a good one if you're a horror noob. If you're like, I've never seen a horror movie, don't watch this. You need to build up to this one. If you're like, I've never seen a horror movie, go watch like Scream or Halloween or I don't know, Army of Darkness.
Our Hooptober.
Yeah, go watch Frankenhooker. But don't watch Hereditary. You gotta build up to this one. But if you're like horror novice, like you've seen like your Screams, you've seen your Halloweens, your Get Outs, your classics.
And you're
go watch this. You are ready.
The people that want to be scared by a horror movie. This is one that I always throw out there when people say, "Give me a horror movie that's actually scary." Because at some point you start to feel like scary. At some point you start watching movies and you're like, "Oh, this is kind of lame now. It's just trying to scare me. It's not actually a good movie." Throw on Hereditary, man. That's a scary, good movie.
Yeah. And we listen to me and Jagger. We know what we're talking about because we've seen a heinous amount of horror, and when you've seen as much horror as we've seen, you kind of become numb to certain things. Like, you can tell when jump scares are coming, you can tell what's going to happen, and so stuff just doesn't scare you as much anymore. And so when we say these movies scare us, they are scary. Like Hereditary will always scare me. There are certain sequences that will always scare me and make me uneasy because it's just so well done.
When you're comfortably going to be the only person in the theater at Saw X, then you can watch Hereditary. That's the level of horror that you have to be at.
Did you see Saw, to digress, did you see Saw X yet?
Saw X comes out for me tomorrow, and I'm going tomorrow.
Oh.
So.
Okay, yeah.
There is not going to be a single person in that theater. And I think Saw X is going to be a box office, like, belly flop. This movie's going to do horribly
100%.
in theaters. What?
100%, but I have heard really good things about it.
So I'm going, like, tomorrow, and tomorrow's Friday on our time. So I'm going at, like, the 10:30 showing, and I'm going to watch it. And I am very excited. But I'm going to be the only person in that theater. And it's not like Exorcist Believer where it's hitting a young audience. Everyone is sick of Saw at this point. And when you're at the horror level where you're like, I like Saw, then you can watch Hereditary.
Yeah, I mean, I still enjoy it. Like, I'm on Saw 5 right now. And after, like, 3, so, like, 4, it wasn't very good. They're not very good.
Okay,
but 4 was what I do enjoy watching is the intricacies of the traps. And how gory they can get and how creative they can get with the different traps. Okay. That is what I enjoy watching.
Trey, can we quickly digress and talk Saw really quick? Okay.
Yeah.
Saw 1, I need to rewatch because it's a great film, but I was heavily disappointed because I was expecting, like, because everyone was saying, Terrifier, you can watch it only if you're able to make it through the Saw movies. Because the Saw movies are really gory. And I watched the first Saw.
The first Saw is not gory at all.
There's, like, no blood in it. So I was really disappointed by the first Saw, and I double featured it with the second Saw. I watched the second Saw, I was disgusted, and I was in such a great mood because I was finally fulfilled by what I wanted from Saw.
Wait, is the second Saw, does that have... Oh, wait, no, that's the third one. The third one is messed.
Okay,
oh my God.
We'll talk about the third one in a second. The second one is the
Yeah.
one with the needle pit. The second one is the one that really bothered me, where they're like reaching their hands into
No, don't even bring that up, dude. The needle pit. I've never been more uncomfortable watching a movie. I was like, oh, don't do that. You probably have AIDS now. Oh.
Have you heard the nightmare about the
bad.
needle pit when they were filming it? That they used like all rubber needles, obviously, and then one idiot said, "I'm gonna throw a real needle in." So then they had to go through all 10,000 syringes and find the real needle.
What
Again?
a fucking... That guy was fired for sure.
So that's one thing, but to make it even worse, the part of that movie that bothered me the most is when she reaches her hands into those things and they're like razor blades, so she has to cut her hands off.
Oh, yeah, and then she can't bring them down or else she'll like cut up her hands. Yeah, dude. Or in Saw 3, the one that got me the most is when the lady is hung in the freezer and he has to get her out, but the water starts spraying on her, and that shit was crazy. Or the pigs, when the big machines start grinding up the pigs, dude.
Saw 3 was so lame. It was so lame.
You didn't like Saw 3?
Me and my friend were watching it because when you watch a movie with your friend, you always pick like the goriest movie known to man, because that's just kind of how it works.
100%. That's just a rule of life.
That's a rule of life. So we're watching it, and we're like so excited because he had never seen a Saw movie before. So we search up what's the most disturbing Saw movie. Now, I could have put on Saw 2 because in my opinion, that's the most disturbing. So I like throw on Saw 3 and we're sitting there and we put on the unrated version because we're like so excited.
Yeah.
And at the end, and then the credits roll. And we were like, that sucked. Because think about it. The pig trap sucked. It was really lame. And
I was absolutely disgusted by that.
Okay.
I was like gagging.
Here's the thing about Saw 3. When you and your friend put on a Saw movie, you're watching the Saw movie to watch people in the traps. That movie was him dismantling trap after trap. Like he was winning. I don't want that.
He wasn't dismantling any of the traps till like the end. He was just letting these people die until like the pig trap. The lady in the cold, he just let die. You know? And then there was the guy, he's number 3 with the guy that gets twisted and all his bones start coming out. That shit was crazy.
I think that's Saw 4. Saw 4 had my favorite traps in the whole series.
I just watched Saw 4 the other day, and Saw 4 did not have that.
Wait, which one was Saw 4?
I think that's Saw 3.
Saw 4 I wrote down had my favorite traps. I loved Saw 4. I think
Saw 4 was alright.
I think I have Saw 4 at 3.5. My highest rated Saw is Saw 2. But yeah, alright. That aside.
Thank you again for joining us for a talk about Hereditary today. Like, follow, and comment. Comment down below what movie Jagger is watching. Like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Go check out our Halloween merch. We should have some Hereditary merch dropping today. Sorry, had to burp. If you would like to leave us a review, we would love that on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please leave us a review, subscribe. If you would like to get into our socials, I am Trey the Film Noob on TikTok, Twitter, and Letterboxd. Go follow me on all 3. I love the support. He is Jagger Film Fan on Letterboxd, Jagger Film Reviews on TikTok, and Jagger the Movie Guy on Instagram.
And Twitch.
And Twitch. Yeah, shout out to his Twitch, where he's live and you can talk to Jagger in real time. But if you want to get into a part of our Blockbuster Bonanza Bunch giveaway, go check out our TikToks. We both have videos pinned explaining the rules and how you can enter. You can enter for the chance to win over $500 worth of movie merchandise, including a region-free Blu-ray player and a crap ton of 4K collections. So go check that out on our TikTok. And again, thank you for joining us today. We will see you next time.